Elma worked in the old castle that stood on the hill. Most people in the village feared it. It was tall, cold, and always covered in shadows. Even during the day, the halls felt dark. Even the warm rooms felt strange. Elma was quiet. She did her work. She did not cause trouble. She swept floors, washed clothes, and cleaned rooms. She earned just enough money to send home to her younger sister. But the castle had one place no one touched: the north wing. People said it was cursed. People said it belonged to the dead. People said a man slept inside and never woke up. Elma never believed it. She thought it was just a story to scare new workers. She stayed far from the north wing anyway. Then one cold morning, the head servant Lena called her. "Elma, come here," Lena said in her sharp voice. Elma walked fast. "Yes, ma'am?" she asked. "You will clean the chamber in the north wing today." Elma froze. Her hands grew cold. The north wing?" she whispered. "Yes," Lena said. "The king ordered it. No one else wants to go. You will do it." Elma wanted to say no. She wanted to run away. But she needed the job. She needed the money. She needed to stay here. So she nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Lena walked away. The order was final. Elma took her small lamp and her cleaning things. Her steps were slow. Her breath was shaky. The deeper she went into the north wing, the darker the halls became. The air felt cold. The stones felt damp. It smelled like dust and old secrets. No voices. No workers. Only silence. She reached the door at the far end. It was tall and made of old wood. Black iron lined the edges. Her heart beat hard. She touched the handle. It felt cold. The door opened with a long sound. Elma stepped inside the chamber. Her lamp gave a soft light. The room was large but empty. Dust covered the floor. Spider webs hung in the corners, but something stood in the center. A stone bed. Very old. Very cold. And on that bed lay a man. Elma almost dropped her lamp. She breathed in fast. The man was pale. His hair was dark. He wore old clothes, torn but still fitting. He looked young. He looked like he was only sleeping. Not dead. Not rotten. Just still. Elma took a step closer. She whispered, "Who are you?" He did not move. He did not breathe. Elma cleaned the corners first. She stayed far from him. She tried not to look at him, but she kept looking anyway. His face was calm. His hands were still. He looked peaceful and lonely. At one point, Elma went to clean the table beside the stone bed. She picked up a small jar. Her hands were shaking. The jar slipped. It fell to the floor. It shattered. The sound echoed in the room. Elma covered her mouth. Her heart raced. She looked at the man. He did not move. But then the air changed. It felt warmer, softer, alive. She stepped back. Her breath came fast. She looked again. The man's fingers twitched, just once. Elma gasped. Then his chest rose, slowly, like someone taking a breath after a long, long time. Elma pressed herself against the wall. Her lamp shook. The man's eyes opened. They were dark, deep, and strange. They looked right at her. Elma froze. Her body felt heavy. Her heart hurt. The man sat up, slow and weak. Dust fell from his clothes. His voice was low and rough. He said, "Elma." Elma's eyes widened. How do you know my name?" she whispered. The man looked confused, then sad, then tired. "I remember a voice," he said. "I remember your name. But we never met," Elma said. Her voice cracked. The man slowly looked around the room. "Everything is gone," he whispered. "My world is gone." Elma swallowed hard. I should get help." The man raised his hand slightly. "Please," he said, "don't leave. Not yet." There was pain in his voice. Real pain. Old pain. Elma stopped. She did not go closer, but she stayed. "What is your name?" she asked. The man lowered his head. Then he said softly, "My name is Reed." Elma nodded. The name felt simple and real. Not strange. Not scary. "How long were you asleep?" Elma asked. Reed looked at the stone bed. He touched the edge with slow fingers. "A very long time," he said. Then he looked at her. His eyes were sad. His voice was soft. 500 years. Elma gasped. Her breath broke. That number felt unreal. 500, she whispered. That can't be true." Reed closed his eyes. "It is." Elma felt her legs shake. She leaned on the wall. This man, this stranger, who knew her name, had slept in this dark place for 5 centuries, and she had woken him. Reed slowly stood up. He almost fell. Elma rushed to grab his arm. He felt cold, very cold. Reed looked at her with deep eyes. "You should not be here. It is not safe." Elma frowned. "Why?" Reed looked toward the door. The shadows in the corner seemed to move. The air felt strange again. "There are things in this castle," he said slowly. "Things that watched me sleep." Elma felt fear climb up her back. "Watched you?" Reed nodded. "They whispered. They waited. They wanted me to never wake." Elma pulled her hand back. "What are they?" Reed looked at her with a sad, dark expression. "They are not human." A cold wind moved through the room. The lamp flickered. Reed whispered, "They know I am awake now." Elma felt her heart stop for a moment. She looked at the shadows. She looked at Reed. She felt the fear growing stronger. "What do they want?" she whispered. Reed stepped closer to her. His voice was quiet but sharp. "They want you, Elma." Elma stood still for a long moment after Reed spoke. Her chest moved fast. Her hands shook a little. She did not know if she should run or stay. The room felt colder now. The torches on the wall flickered, almost as if the fire feared something too. Reed watched her, quiet, trying not to scare her more. "Do not fear me," he said in a low voice. "I will not hurt you." Elma swallowed hard. How are you awake?" she asked. "You should be gone. The room is so old. You were here for so long." Reed looked around the chamber, his eyes dark but calm. "I slept because I had to," he said softly. "I had no choice." Elma stepped back until her shoulders touched the wall. She felt the rough, cold stone against her back. "What are you?" she whispered. Reed let out a small breath. "A curse was placed on me," he said. "A long time ago. I was locked in this room and forced into deep sleep." Elma's voice shook. "Why?" Reed looked down at his hands, as if he carried a heavy memory. "Because someone feared what I could become." The sound of the storm outside grew louder, hitting the castle walls like a warning. Elma tried to make sense of his words. "What could you become?" Reed slowly lifted his eyes to hers. "Something dark," he said. "But I never wanted that." Elma felt her skin prickle. His words were simple, but heavy. She did not know what he meant, but she could feel the weight of truth. Reed stood still, not moving closer. "Your name is Elma, yes?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "You cleaned this place?" he asked. "Yes. My master told me to," she said. "He said no one comes here." Reed let his eyes travel around the dusty room. "No one should come here," he said. "It is not safe." Elma felt her heart jump. Why not? Reed turned his head slightly, as if listening to something she could not hear. "The curse that held me. It is not fully gone," he said. "When I woke up, something else woke too." Elma felt her breath stop for a moment. "What else?" she whispered. Reed looked toward the dark, far corner of the room. "There is a shadow here," he said. "It has been here for many years. It watched me sleep. It fed on the dark magic that kept me silent." Elma's throat tightened. She slowly looked toward the same corner. There was nothing, just darkness. But the air felt heavy there. Reed's voice dropped lower. "It is still hungry," he said. "And now it has tasted your fear." Elma pressed her hand to her chest, trying to calm the fast beating of her heart. "Why me?" she asked quietly. "Because you opened the door," Reed said, "and shadows love those who bring light." Elma did not understand fully, but she knew one thing. She should not stay in this room. Reed saw her fear and raised his hands a little. "I will help you leave," he said. "But once you step out, nothing will be the same. You touched a place that the world forgot." Elma nodded, even though she didn't understand everything. She took a small step toward him. Reed watched her carefully. "Stay close," he said. "The shadow moves in silence." Elma took a slow breath. "Okay." Reed turned toward the door and pulled it open with ease, though the old wood groaned loud. The hallway outside was darker than before. The torches along the wall burned low, almost out. Elma felt the cold air at her neck. Reed stepped out first. "Do not look back," he said quietly. Elma followed, but as she crossed the doorway, she heard something inside the room, a soft sound, like a whisper. She froze. Reed reached back and touched her shoulder. "Do not listen," he said. "It wants your fear." Elma forced herself to move. She stepped into the hall. Reed closed the heavy door behind them. As the door shut, the whisper turned into a low hiss, just for a moment, then stopped. Elma felt sick in her stomach. "What happens now?" she asked. Reed looked down the dark hallway. "Now," he said, "we run." Elma did not question Reed. The fear in his voice was enough. He took her hand and pulled her forward. His grip was cold, but steady. Strong, but not hurting her. The hallway felt wrong now. The air was heavy. The light from the torches looked weak, like the fire wanted to hide. A long growl of thunder rolled outside. Elma's steps were fast and uneven as they hurried down the stone path. "Why are we running?" she asked, breathing hard. Reed kept his eyes forward. "Because the shadow is awake," he said, "and it will not stay in that room." Elma felt the hair on her arms rise. She looked back for a second, but the hallway behind them was empty. Reed tugged her hand sharply. "I said not to look," he murmured. "Why?" she whispered. "Shadows grow stronger when you give them attention," he said. "It is better to act like you do not see them." Elma swallowed and nodded fast. Her feet slapped the cold floor as they kept moving. The thunder grew louder. Outside the windows, the sky was dark and red in some places, as if the sunset refused to die. Reed slowed once they reached a wider hall. He looked both ways. "Where are we going?" Elma asked. "A place with more light," he said. "For now, that is all we can do." Elma stared at him. "Reed, what is the shadow? What does it want?" Reed stopped walking. He turned to her slowly. "It was born from the curse that kept me asleep," he said. "It is not a creature. It is not a man. It is only hunger." Elma felt cold spread through her chest. Hunger. For what? Reed looked into her eyes. For fear. For life. For voices. For every little warm thing it can steal. Elma hugged her arms around herself. "Can it hurt us?" Reed nodded once. Yes. His answer was simple, and that made it worse. They walked again, but slower this time. Reed seemed to be listening to something she could not hear. After a few steps, he spoke again. "You said your master sent you to clean that room," he said. "Yes," Elma whispered. "Why?" Reed asked. "No one should even know that room exists." Elma shook her head. "He didn't tell me. He only ordered me to clean it. He said it was not used anymore." Reed's voice grew tight. "That room was sealed by old magic. It should stay closed forever." Elma's heart dropped. "Then, how did he open it?" she asked softly. Reed stopped again. His eyes darkened. "That is the part that scares me," he said. "Old magic does not break on its own." Elma felt her breath catch. "You mean someone broke the seal?" Reed nodded. "Yes, someone with strong power." Elma looked down, thinking hard. "My master is just a man," she said. "He does not use magic. He only keeps the castle." Reed looked at her with a strange expression. "Sometimes the darkest hands are the ones that look simple." Elma didn't know what to say to that. For a moment, the hall was silent except for the sound of rain hitting the windows. Then Reed suddenly grabbed Elma's wrist. "Stay behind me," he said quietly. Her heart jumped. "Why?" Reed stared down the hall. "Elma, do you see that?" She looked. At first, there was nothing. Then she saw it. A shape. Small. Dark. Standing near the end of the hall. It was not a full figure. More like a patch of deeper darkness within the shadows. Elma's breath left her body. "Is that?" "Yes," Reed said. "It found us." Elma stepped back without thinking. The shadow did not move, but the torches beside it dimmed, almost dying. Reed exhaled slowly. "We cannot fight it now," he said. "We must move." Elma whispered. "Where?" Reed looked toward a staircase nearby. "Down," he said. "To the old halls under the castle." Elma felt fear rise in her throat. "Isn't it darker down there?" "Yes," Reed said, "but the shadow hates stone. It moves slower underground." The shadow at the end of the hall shifted slightly. Just a small tilt, but enough to make Elma's whole body shake. Reed took her hand again. "Do not run," he whispered. "It follows fast things." Elma nodded. Her legs felt weak. They stepped toward the stairs. The shadow did not chase. But as they turned the corner, Elma heard it. A soft, thin whisper. Her name. "Elma." She froze. Reed tightened his grip. "Don't listen." She forced herself to walk again. They reached the stairs. Reed went first, pulling her gently. "Elma," he said quietly, "once we go down here, there is no turning back." Elma looked at him. His eyes were dark and calm. She nodded. "I trust you." Reed blinked, surprised at her words, but he said nothing. They stepped down into the dark, and the door above them slowly shut, on its own. The stairway was cold and narrow. Each step felt older than the one before it. Dust rose around their feet. The air smelled like stone and still water. Elma stayed close to Reed. She could not see far, only the faint light from a small torch Reed had found on the wall. The door above them was closed now, completely shut. No sign of light. Elma whispered, "Did the shadow close it?" Reed shook his head. "No," he said. "The castle did." Elma stared at him. "The castle?" Reed walked slower. "This place remembers things," he said. "It remembers me. It remembers my curse." She felt her skin crawl. The stairs seemed to go on forever. Their steps echoed softly, like something else was walking with them. After a long time, Elma spoke again. "Reed, what if the shadow follows us?" Reed didn't stop walking. "It will," he said, "but slower." Elma felt her stomach twist. "When we reach the bottom," Reed said, "do not look behind you. Not even once." Elma nodded, even though fear pushed hard against her chest. The torch flickered as they reached the end of the stairs. A long hallway opened before them. Cold, stone silent. It stretched far, like a tunnel into the earth. Elma looked ahead. "Where does this lead?" she asked. "To the old halls," Reed said. "They were shut down many years before you were born." Elma stepped into the hallway. The torchlight lit broken doors and cracked stone. The walls were wet in some places. A faint drip-drip sound echoed. Reed walked with slow, careful steps. "Elma," he said softly, "tell me something." She looked at him. "What?" "Why did you come to this castle? You are young. You should be with family, not in a place like this." Elma lowered her eyes. "I had no choice," she said. "My younger brother and sister needed food. I had to work." Reed's face softened. "That is a heavy load for someone your age." Elma nodded. "Life is harder for people like us," she said quietly. "No one sees us. No one hears us." Reed stopped. He turned and looked at her with a strange sadness. "I see you," he said. Elma felt warmth rise in her chest for a moment, but the feeling ended fast when she heard a sound behind them. A soft scraping, like fingers against stone. Elma froze. Her heart jumped into her throat. Reed's voice went low. It came down the stairs. Elma's voice trembled. "What do we do?" Reed took a slow breath. "We stay calm," he said, "and we keep moving." Elma swallowed and nodded. They walked again, but faster this time. The scraping sound appeared again. Closer. Elma covered her mouth so she wouldn't cry out. Reed placed himself slightly in front of her as they moved through the hall. At the far end, they reached a large wooden door. Old, rotting, barely holding together. Reed pushed it open. A cold gust of air rushed out. Inside was a wide chamber. Stone pillars, broken tables, old iron chains on the walls. Elma stepped inside slowly. "It feels colder here," she whispered. Reed nodded. "This is one of the places they used long ago," he said, "for things they did not want others to see." Elma hugged herself. "What kind of things?" Reed walked toward a large stone circle in the floor. He touched it lightly with his fingers. "The spell that trapped me," he said, "started in this room." Elma felt the fear return. "Reed, who cursed you?" Reed looked at her for a long moment. Then he said softly, "A king, a cruel one, a man who feared the dark, but feared me more." Elma stepped closer to him. "Why you?" she whispered. Reed closed his eyes. "Because I was born with something inside me, something he thought was evil." Elma waited. Reed opened his eyes slowly. "I was born with a dark gift," he said, "a gift I never asked for." The scraping sound came again, louder, closer. Elma looked toward the door. "Reed, it's here." Reed grabbed her hand. "Stay behind me," he said. Elma shook her head. "No, I don't want to be alone." Reed gave her a small, quick look. "You won't be." The scraping grew into a slow, dragging sound. Then all at once, the torches along the chamber walls went out. Every single one. Elma gasped. Total darkness. Then a whisper in the dark. "Elma." She squeezed Reed's hand tight. The shadow was inside the room now, and it was close. Very close. Reed spoke in a low, steady voice. "Elma, whatever happens, do not let go of my hand." Elma held Reed's hand as tight as she could. Her fingers hurt from how hard she squeezed, but she didn't loosen her grip. The room was black. Not just dark. Black like ink. Like a place where light had never lived. She could not see Reed. She could not see her own hands. Everything was gone. She only felt the cold stone under her feet, and Reed's hand around hers. The whisper came again. "Elma." It was close. So close it felt like something was right beside her ear. Elma shook as tears built in her eyes. Reed, she whispered. I'm scared. I know, Reed said softly. His voice was calm. Too calm. Elma felt him shift his body, stepping a little forward to block her. The whisper drifted around them, moving like smoke. Elma, don't be afraid. Look at me. Elma clenched her eyes shut. Elma held Reed's hand as tight as she could. Her fingers hurt from how hard she squeezed, but she didn't loosen her grip. The room was black, not just dark. Black like ink, like a place where light had never lived. She could not see Reed. She could not see her own hands. Everything was gone. She only felt the cold stone under her feet, and Reed's hand around hers. The whisper came again. Elma. It was close. So close it felt like something was right beside her ear. Elma shook as tears built in her eyes. Reed, she whispered. I'm scared. I know, Reed said softly. His voice was calm. Too calm. Elma felt him shift his body, stepping a little forward to block her. The whisper drifted around them, moving like smoke. Elma, don't be afraid. Look at me. Elma clenched her eyes shut. Reed spoke in a low, sharp voice. Do not listen to it. But the whisper grew sweeter, like a soft voice trying to comfort her. Elma, he hides things from you. He is not what you think. Elma's breath shook. Reed, why is it talking like that? Reed's grip tightened. It lies, he said. It wants to break your mind. The whisper circled them again. He lied to you. He lies even now. Elma's voice trembled. Reed, is it true? Reed didn't answer at first. Then he said, Elma, I told you the truth that matters. I want to help you. That is all. But the shadow laughed softly. A small, cold laugh that made Elma's chest hurt. He fears his own nature. He fears what he will become. Run from him, little girl. Run. Elma covered her ears, but the sound was inside her head. Reed, she whispered. Make it stop. Reed pulled her closer so her shoulder touched his chest. You are safe with me, he said. I won't let it touch you. Then, the ground under them shook. Not much. Just enough to send dust from the ceiling. The whisper stopped. Silence. Elma held her breath. Reed. What is happening? Reed whispered back. It is trying to take shape. Elma felt her blood run cold. The darkness around them shifted, as if something was moving, growing, pulling itself together. A soft, scraping sound clung to the stones. Elma whimpered. Reed. I'm here, he said. Do not let go. A faint glow appeared to their left. Weak, like a dying candle. Elma could see Reed's face now, half lit, half in shadow. His jaw was tight. His eyes were dark but focused. He looked scared, but also angry. The faint light grew just enough to show the stone floor. A shape began to rise from it. Not solid, not human. A darker dark inside the dark. Something without legs or arms, but with a crawling, twisting form. Elma's breath caught. What is that? Reed whispered. The shadow waking. The shape rose higher. Thin lines stretched out from it, like long fingers made of smoke. Elma pressed into Reed's side. Reed held her close with one arm and lifted his other hand slowly. Elma, he whispered, whatever you see, do not scream. The shadow turned its head, or what looked like a head, toward them. A face began to form. Not a real face, just two empty holes where eyes should be. Elma's knees almost gave out. She whispered, Reed, it's looking at us. Reed stepped in front of her fully. Stay behind me, he said. The shadow lowered its head. Then it slowly stretched one long, thin arm toward them. Elma felt a cold so sharp it burned. She clung to Reed's back. Reed. He stepped forward, shielding her. The shadow paused, then spoke in a voice that was not one voice, but many. You woke him, and now he will wake you. Elma felt her heart stop. Reed lowered his head, breathing hard. Elma, he said quietly, listen to me. Yes, she whispered. If the shadow tries to touch you, run. Do not wait for me. Elma shook her head fast. No, I won't leave you. Reed turned his head slightly so she could see part of his face. A small, sad smile touched his lips. You may have to. Before Elma could answer, the shadow lunged. A burst of cold air hit them, and everything went black again. Blackness slammed into them like a wave. Elma felt the cold hit her face first. Sharp, painful, like needles made of ice. She lost Reed's hand for a moment. Reed, she cried in the dark. His voice came fast, rough. I'm here. Stay low. Elma dropped to her knees, her hands shaking on the stone floor. Something rushed over her head. Fast, silent, like a cold wind that carried claws. Elma covered her head with both arms. She heard Reed move, a heavy step, a harsh sound from his throat, like he was pushing something back. The shadow hissed, not like a snake, but like many voices at once, twisting together. Reed grabbed Elma's arm and pulled her close again. I told you, don't let go, he said, breathing hard. Elma looked up even though she could barely see him. Reed, what is it doing? It's testing us, he said. It wants to see who is weaker. Elma swallowed. That's me. No, Reed said quickly, turning to her. It wants you because you have light. You are not weak. Before she could answer, the faint glow in the chamber flickered again, like something was trying to kill even that small light. The shadow pulled itself up higher, its long, dark shape stretching across the ceiling. Elma whimpered and pressed into Reed. Don't look at it, Reed said softly. Only listen to me. Elma closed her eyes tight. Why can't you fight it? She whispered. Reed didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, I can. But if I do, I might lose control. Elma's eyes opened a little. What does that mean? Reed's voice was low, almost ashamed. The thing inside me, the thing the king feared, it wakes when I use too much power. Elma stared at him through the faint glow. What happens if it wakes? Reed looked away from her. You won't want to see it. The shadow hissed again, louder this time. It was angry. It twisted in the air like smoke trapped in a storm. Elma grabbed Reed's sleeve. Reed, can it kill us? He nodded slowly. Yes. Elma's breath broke. But, Reed added, it won't kill us yet. It wants fear first. That gives it strength. Elma felt her stomach twist. So what do we do? Reed looked at the ground, thinking fast. Then he said, we go deeper. Elma shook her head. No, it's dark down there. Reed gave a soft, sad smile. It's dark everywhere now. He held her hand again. Elma, listen. The shadow is tied to this room. It is stronger here. If we move, it will weaken. Elma nodded fast. She didn't like the idea. She didn't like any of this. But she trusted him. Okay, she whispered. Lead me. Reed stood, keeping her hand in his. He pulled her up slowly so she wouldn't fall. They stepped back toward the door on the far side of the chamber. The shadow moved the moment they did. It dropped from the ceiling with a deep, cracking sound, like the air itself was breaking. Elma screamed. Reed pulled her behind one of the stone pillars. The shadow struck the ground where they had stood a second earlier. The stone cracked, dust flying up. Elma slapped her hand over her mouth to stop another scream. Reed leaned down to her ear. It knows our plan. We must move now. The shadow rose again, taller this time, stretching toward the ceiling like a long, broken figure. Elma felt sick. "It's getting bigger," Reed nodded. "It grows with fear." Elma forced herself to breathe slow, even though she was shaking. "I'll try not to be scared," she whispered. Reed touched her cheek. "You can be scared. Just don't let fear guide you." But the shadow sensed their whisper. It turned toward them. Slow. Sharp. Reed reacted first. He grabbed Elma around the waist, lifted her, and moved behind another pillar before the shadow slashed the air where they had been. Elma gasped as Reed shielded her with his own body. The shadow scraped its long fingers against the pillar, leaving deep marks in the stone. Elma whispered, "Reed." "It almost got us." "I know," he said softly. "That's why we move on my count." He placed his hand on her back. "Elma, trust me." "I do," she said without thinking. Reed breathed in once. Then he whispered, "1." The shadow pulled back its arm, preparing to strike again. 2. Elma shut her eyes, gripping Reed's shirt. 3. Run! Reed yanked her forward, and they sprinted toward the back door of the chamber. The shadow screamed. The torches burst with light for a second from the force of the sound. Elma felt the air tremble behind her. She heard the shadow chasing, fast, faster than she thought it could move. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. Reed pushed the old door. It didn't open. Elma gasped, "Reed, it's stuck!" Reed slammed his shoulder into it. Nothing. "Elma, stay behind me," he shouted. The shadow was almost on them. Its cold breath hit her neck. She cried out. Reed grabbed the handle with both hands, and something inside him shifted. For a moment, just a short moment, Elma saw his eyes glow. Not bright, not warm, dark. A deep, sharp, unnatural dark. He pulled the door, and it broke off its hinges. Elma stumbled through the opening as Reed pushed her inside. Behind them, the shadow screamed with rage. Reed slammed the broken door shut. Darkness filled the new hallway. Elma pressed her back to the wall, shaking. "Reed, your eyes?" "What was that?" Reed turned away from her. His voice was low. "That is what I told you about." Elma took a small step toward him. "Reed, are you still you?" He didn't answer. Not at first. Then he whispered, "For now." The night grew colder as Elma and Reed walked deeper into the woods. The trees stood tall and thin, like dark bones reaching for the sky. No wind moved. No birds called. The air felt heavy, as if the forest held its breath. Elma stayed close to Reed. Her small steps made soft sounds on the dead leaves. Reed looked around again and again. "I don't like this place," he said in a low voice. Elma nodded. "It feels wrong." They kept moving until the trees suddenly opened into a small clearing. There stood a house, a lonely, broken house. Its roof sagged. Its door hung open. The windows were dark and empty. Elma stopped walking. Reed felt his chest tighten. "That house should not be here," he whispered. "No one lives this far from the village." A deep cold filled the clearing, colder than the night air, the kind of cold that touched the bones. Elma pointed at the house. "Reed, do you hear that?" Reed listened. At first, nothing. Then a faint sound reached them, a soft voice, a quiet whisper, calling. "Elma." The girl froze. The voice sounded like her mother, but Elma's mother had died years ago. Reed grabbed her arm. "No," he said. "That's not her. Don't listen." Elma swallowed. Her heart beat fast, but the voice came again, gentle and warm. "Elma, come inside." Reed stepped in front of her. "Stay behind me. Do not move." The house door creaked a little, though no wind touched it. A shape stood inside, only a shadow, tall, still, watching. Reed narrowed his eyes. He felt something move in the air, something dark, something hungry. "Elma," Reed said softly, "no matter what it says, you do not go in." But the whisper came again, this time from behind them. "Elma." Elma spun around, startled. Reed's jaw clenched. He pulled her closer. The forest around them seemed to shift. The shadows deepened. The air felt thick with unseen eyes. Reed spoke in a quiet voice. "We need to leave." Elma nodded, but when they turned toward the path they had walked, it was gone. Only tall trees stood there now. Reed pulled out the small knife he carried. He knew it would not help much, but it was the only thing he had. Elma stepped close to him, her voice small. "Reed, are we trapped?" He breathed slowly. "I won't let anything take you." The whispering grew louder. Not one voice now. Many. They circled the clearing, soft, cold, calling Elma's name again and again. Reed held her hand tight. Then a figure stepped out of the house doorway. Not a shadow anymore. A woman, with long black hair, white skin, and empty eyes. Her smile was too wide, too still. She lifted one hand toward Elma. "My child, come home." Elma shook her head fast. "That's not my mother." Reed stepped in front of her. "Stay back," he said, raising his knife. The woman tilted her head. Her smile did not change. "You cannot leave this place," she whispered. "You walked into the hollow woods, and the hollow woods does not let go." Reed felt a sharp fear rise in him, but he did not step back. He stood firm. He did not let go of Elma's hand. Behind them, the whispers grew into soft laughter, and the air grew even colder. The woman with the empty eyes stepped closer. Her feet made no sound on the ground. It was like she floated. Elma hid behind Reed, shaking. Reed kept the knife up, though his hand trembled. "Don't come any closer," he said. The woman stopped only a few steps away. Her face was calm, too calm. "You cannot fight this place," she whispered. "The woods want her. The woods call her. They know her blood." Reed's heart thumped hard. "What do you mean?" he asked. The woman smiled again, that same too wide smile. "Elma was born under the wrong moon," she said. "She belongs to us." Elma's voice broke. "No, I don't belong here." The woman lifted her hand. The shadows in the clearing rose with it, like thin black smoke. They curled around the trees, around the ground, around Reed and Elma. Reed stepped back, pulling Elma with him, but the shadows moved faster. One wrapped around Reed's ankle. It was cold like ice. He kicked at it, but it did not let go. Elma cried out, "Reed!" He tried to pull free, but the shadow tightened, holding him in place. The woman watched him calmly. "You cannot save her," she said. "You cannot save yourself." Reed gritted his teeth. He raised the knife and stabbed at the darkness holding him. The blade passed through it like smoke. No effect. Elma grabbed Reed's arm. "What do we do?" she whispered. Reed looked around, breathing hard. His eyes darted across the clearing, searching for anything they could use. That's when he saw it. A faint glow behind the house. Soft, silver, flickering like a small flame. Something in Reed stirred. Hope. A small, thin hope. "Elma," he whispered, "do you see that light?" Elma peeked around him and nodded. "Yes." The woman turned her head slowly toward the glow. For the first time, her smile faded. Reed saw fear in her empty eyes. Whatever the light was, it scared her. That was enough for him. "Elma," Reed whispered, "we run to that light." Elma stared at him. "But the shadows." "We run," Reed said again, this time firm. "No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, run with me." Elma nodded fast. The woman hissed softly, her voice sharp now. "She cannot leave this place." Reed took a breath. Then he grabbed Elma's hand, and he ran. The shadows lunged at them. The voices screamed her name. The woman reached out, her fingers stretching too long, too thin. Reed pulled Elma with all his strength. The cold air bit their skin. Branches slapped their arms. The ground shook as the dark shapes swarmed behind them. Elma stumbled, but Reed held her up. "Don't stop," he shouted. "Run, Elma." The glow grew brighter. Silver light spilled across the path as they broke through the trees. And then they saw it. A silver lantern, hanging in the air, floating, still, unmoving, bright enough to push back the shadows. Elma stared at it with wide eyes. What is it? Reed didn't know. He only knew one thing. The darkness would not step near it. The woman stopped at the edge of the silver light. Her smile was gone. Her empty eyes glared at them with cold hate. She raised her hand again. "You cannot run forever," she whispered. "The woods always take what they want." Reed kept Elma close. His voice was steady, but not tonight. The silver lantern floated in front of them, steady and bright. Its light felt warm, softer than the cold night around them. Elma held Reed's hand tight, trying to catch her breath. Reed kept his eyes on the woman at the edge of the light. She did not move closer. The shadows behind her twisted like smoke trying to reach them, but pulling back each time the silver glow touched them. Elma whispered, "Why does it stop them?" Reed shook his head. "I don't know. But it's the first thing that scared her." The woman spoke again, her voice low and sharp. "That lantern does not belong to you. It belongs to the one who watches this forest." Reed frowned. "The one who watches." The woman tilted her head slowly. "You will meet him soon." Elma stepped closer to Reed. "I don't want to meet anyone from this place." The forest around them grew silent again. The woman turned away, as if she could not bear the light. Her shape melted back into the darkness between the trees. The whispers faded with her. Reed stayed still until he was sure she was gone. Then he looked up at the floating lantern. It gave off no heat. It made no sound. It only shone that soft silver glow, as if waiting. "Elma," Reed said, "I think it wants us to follow it." Elma stared at it. "Why would it help us?" Reed didn't know, but staying in the clearing felt wrong. The shadows would return. The woman would return. And the lantern was their only guide. Reed reached out slowly. His hand stopped inches from the light. He felt a faint warmth on his skin, gentle and calm. "It's safe," he said. Elma touched his sleeve. "Reed, look." The lantern began to drift forward, floating through the trees. Not fast, but steady, almost like it wanted them to walk with it. Reed nodded. "We follow. Stay close." They stepped into the trees again. The lantern moved ahead of them, lighting the narrow path. Every step away from the clearing felt lighter, though the air was still cold. Elma stayed right behind Reed, her fingers holding his shirt. Minutes passed, or maybe more. In this forest, it was hard to keep track. Then Reed noticed something. "No sounds," he whispered. "No wind. No insects. Nothing." Elma swallowed. "This whole place feels like it's watching us." Reed glanced around. He felt it too. Eyes in the dark, breath on the back of his neck. Something waiting, but the lantern's glow kept the shadows pushed away. They walked until the trees thinned, and another clearing opened before them. In the center of the clearing stood a stone arch, tall, old, covered in cracks. The lantern floated to the arch and stopped there. The silver glow rested on the stone like moonlight. Reed and Elma stepped closer. "What is this place?" Elma whispered. Reed slowly shook his head. "I don't know. But I think this is where the lantern was leading us." The arch hummed softly, a low, slow sound, like breath. Elma grabbed Reed's arm. "It's alive." Reed stared at the stone. Then he noticed faint marks carved into it. Symbols worn down by time. Simple lines, circles, shapes. Not words, just marks. Still, looking at them made Reed uneasy. Suddenly, the lantern flickered. The light dimmed, then brightened again. A voice, soft, deep, almost like a man's whisper, came from the trees behind them. "You should not be here." Reed spun around, pulling Elma behind him. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Tall, wearing a long, dark cloak, face hidden by the hood. Not like the woman, not empty, not twisted, but no less frightening. Reed held his knife tight. "Who are you?" The figure stopped a few steps away. The lantern's glow made the edges of his cloak shimmer with silver. "I am the keeper of this forest," the man said, "and the lantern is mine." Elma pressed close to Reed. Did you send it to us?" The hooded man did not move his head, but his voice softened. "I sent it to protect you. The woods have already claimed too much." Reed frowned. "Why help us?" The man looked toward the arch. "Because," he said quietly, "this forest remembers Elma." Elma's breath caught. "Me? Why me?" The man lifted his hand toward the arch. "Because this is where your story began, and where it must end." Reed stepped in front of her again. "No, you're not touching her." The hooded man sighed as if tired. "You do not know what she is, what she carries, what this woods wants from her." Elma shook her head hard. "I'm just a girl." The man's voice dropped to a deep, slow whisper. "No, child. You were born here. You were taken from here. And now the forest calls you home." Elma's eyes filled with fear. Reed held her tighter. The hooded man's voice grew colder. "You cannot run from your blood." Elma stood frozen. Reed held her close, refusing to let go. The hooded man stepped closer to the stone arch. The lantern floated beside him, its silver light steady. "Elma," the man said, "the forest calls for your blood, because you were born here. But it does not own you, not if you choose another path." Elma felt her heart race. "I don't want this place. I don't want these voices." Reed looked at her, firm and steady. "And you won't have them. We're leaving." The hooded man lowered his head. "Leaving is not easy. The woods chase what they want." Reed tightened his grip on her hand. "We made it here. We'll make it out." The man lifted the lantern slowly. The silver glow spread wider, pushing back every shadow in sight. Then he spoke a single sentence. "Walk through the arch. It will give you a way out." Elma stared at the stone arch. Dark, old, cold, a place that felt wrong. Reed squeezed her hand. "I'm with you, always." The hooded man stepped aside. "I will hold the forest back, for as long as I can." The wind rose. The whispers returned. The trees shook. Dark shapes crawled at the edges of the clearing. The woman with empty eyes appeared again, furious now. "Elma!" she screamed. "She belongs to us." Reed pulled Elma toward the arch. The ground shook. The shadows rushed forward. The woman lunged at them. But the lantern's silver light blasted outward, brighter than ever. The woman shrieked and fell back, melting into the dark. The shadows burned away. Reed and Elma ran. They stepped through the arch, and everything went white. Silence, soft wind, warm air. When the light faded, they found themselves standing on a quiet hill outside their village. The woods were far behind them. The arch was gone. The lantern was gone. The shadows were gone. Elma fell to her knees, shaking. Reed knelt beside her, wrapping his arms around her. "It's over," he said softly. "We made it." Elma leaned against him, tears falling. "Thank you. You saved me." Reed held her close. "No, we saved each other." The night sky above them was calm. No whispers, no cold voices, only the soft wind moving through the grass. Elma looked back toward the distant forest. The trees stood still, quiet, watching, but unable to reach her now. Reed stood and helped her to her feet. "We go home," he said. Elma nodded and took his hand. Together, they walked back to the village, back to safety, back to the world of warm lights and living people. The forest behind them stayed dark and silent, but it no longer had a claim on her. Elma was free, and Reed never let go of her hand for the rest of the night,